Welcome to 4D Life with Richie Watson and David Saville.
Hey.
Today we're going to be exploring how you can create radical, exponential transformation and growth really slowly. And we're going to be exploring that paradox here, right? This was born from a video you recorded, can't remember exactly when it was, but a few weeks ago. And within it, Rich was sharing his journey over the past months. And one of the phrases he said very specifically was, it's been this very slow, step by step moving forward. That's what he said. Now, it was only 9 months earlier that Richie and I had this very painful and beautiful conversation about what he needs me to do in the case with his daughter in the case of his death. Like how to provide, make sure she's provided for in certain ways. That was 9 months before. Now, 9 months later, he was, well, actually, what were you doing?
Making that video. I was 9 months later, and I felt I could make it too. And I put it off because I didn't feel like I was quite there yet. I wanted to make sure when I came back and made a video, I'd be able to make another one the week after. And another one the week after, and maybe another one a couple of days later. You know, I didn't want to come back, as it were, invite people to pay attention, invite people to invest their faith actually in the work I do, and then disappear. So that was a kind of a moment. There's so many momentous moments with this build back, and that was another one making that first video I did.
And you know, for me, of course, like seeing you do that, and of course knowing what's going on in the background, when you say very slowly, and I obviously commented on it in the video itself, it's like, if that's your version of very slowly, I can't wait to see what happens when you speed up. Because 9 months from facing your mortality and the fact you may not be here for your daughter, to feeling strong enough to have that commitment to be of service to others, you know, as well as obviously what must have been going on in the background for Amelie and for yourself. You know, it's immense.
Yeah, and I said in response to your comment, which was beautiful, by the way, it was like, yeah, it's been slow, but incredibly fast. And I said, I think you said something towards the end, I look forward to creating my own extraordinary, you know, life as slowly as you have, you know, and I really like that. And I thanked you because, you know, you can sometimes lose connection with the journey as it unfolds. You were there with me through it all. You know, you were there on the phone, you know, regularly or through voice messages. And so that's great because some of it is a little bit hazy, you know, but what brought me through that haze was what we're going to be talking about today and what we want to share. It's like, well, how did I come from being so debilitated, like being stripped back to my absolute weakest, like, and barely being able to function mentally and be able to communicate. I lost feeling down my right side. I lost feeling all around my body, but particularly down my right side. I struggled to walk. You know, so I was virtually bedbound for most of 3 months. And so it's not just, of course, overcoming that, but it's motivating yourself to overcome it as well. And that's I think the deep thing that we want to share today, right?
Yeah, because man, like the hopelessness that I know can grip up, you know, I know most people in that situation probably would have been there, you know, because it was one thing after another. Because I remember we were speaking regularly, man, or voice messaging regularly, because you didn't have the energy to speak actually on a live conversation at times. And it was just this other thing and more, and you know, like it was a degradation in your body physically and what you were capable of, and you know, it looking like there's one outcome, and it's like, well, what can you do when you're headed to the end of your life?
Well, you know, this is when we come to the depth of it, right? It's like, well, you have to be able to acknowledge what everything means to you, what's going on, what the possibilities are here, and you have to be able to go, okay, because what's there, David? What was meaningful was my daughter, also my legacy that propped up, but it became secondary to my daughter, and that's hence the conversation. Right? I need to phone David, and I need to make sure that he becomes like a proxy presence for what I want to make sure is in her life, and to make sure that these financial arrangements that I've made can then be available to her for the things I want them available to her for, and to be able to tell, as someone that knows me better than anyone in the world, someone can tell her who her dad was. You know, she knows pretty well at this stage, but still there's a bunch she doesn't know as deeply. The person I am is kind of normal to her. That's what a dad is. And so those things were important to me. But her well-being was front and center. Why was that the most thing that's important to me? Because that's the thing that broke my heart in the midst of the depth of it. You know, when I was in bed and I couldn't do anything, and she came in to give me a hug and just lay with me for a few moments, right? And I summoned everything I could to kind of smile and look her in the eyes. And then she left, and I just cried, because I should be able to be a dad, and I'm not being able to be a dad, and that sucks. But I also cried in gratitude. And then this was the incredible thing about that period of time. I was so grateful for that moment, because I had so little, that having her come in and hug me, I was genuinely brought to tears through gratitude for that. So it's what was most painful for me became the meaning that then drove me forward. So after that, I have the conversation. What's this? Preparing for the worst. So I have to acknowledge that this might happen. Okay, prepare for the worst. Put things in place. And this is the thing, David. Unless we really acknowledge what's going on and what it could be and how deep it is and what it means to us, we don't take those steps because we're too afraid to really look at what's underneath here. But when we've got to be willing for our heart to break. You've got to be willing to really get in. And this is why people don't, you know, I'm going to talk about how meaning being that thing that has the gravity that pulls us forward and drives us forward. Well, the reason we don't have access to it is because we're not willing to go close enough to what will break our heart first. We're not willing to go close enough to what is most meaningful to us, because there's so often there's pain around it. And there was pain around this. So first it's okay. Maybe I don't make it out of this. Okay, but that means I've got to do some things. I've got to call David. I've got to put things into place. Okay, now that's done. Now what? Well, what now is I use all of this, like the most meaningful thing in the world to me, as my motivation to draw myself forward, to move in whatever way I can, millimeter by millimeter, inch by inch, breath by breath, step by step, day by day, which is how things became. But at first it was standing, getting out of bed and being able to go downstairs, you know, to begin some kind of participation in life. The very beginning, and I don't know when this was because it was a very hazy period of time, but I crawled my way to the end of my bed. So this is when I wasn't really walking, and my dumbbell is there, and which I hadn't used since August because that's when my health started to decline. And I reached down and I gripped the dumbbell and I lift it up once and then I put it back down. Why the hell am I lifting a dumbbell when I can barely walk? Why am I doing that?
Yeah, you madman. You should be resting.
Because if I can lift it once, and I can lift it twice. And if I can lift it twice, I can lift it 20 times. What met me in that moment was so much pain, man. All this inflammation and weakness, and it hurt. Like, it really hurt. And I couldn't lift it with my hand alone. I needed my meaning. I needed that with me. I needed something stronger than my body. You know, my body was weak. My body was tired. My body would give up. My body would feel the pain and put that back down. But I had my meaning in my heart. So that's what I have to lift it with. And every single movement, and this is only, I don't know what's the potential is for my life. Where can I get to? Can I get well again? I had no idea, David. No idea what was possible for me. And this was about exploring whatever it was that was possible for me. And what helps you do that? What drives you forward? What do you draw strength and courage from? What do you draw motivation from? You know, we talk about motivation, it's so ethereal, right? So hypothetical. You need to be able to draw it from something. Well, it comes from meaning, that which is most meaningful. as you know, in the self-help world, we're always hearing, follow your bliss and follow your excitement, follow your passion. And you know what people do that just do that? They follow themselves around in circles because it's not enough. It's not. It's part of things, absolutely, to have your passion and your excitement and those things that inspire you in your heart. It's part of things. But unless that's rooted in your meaning that's in your heart, then when things get tough and the obstacles come, passion, inspiration, excitement simply isn't enough for most of us a lot of the time when meeting those moments. But if me lifting this weight up, if it's not just lifting a weight up, if it's me being a father, if that meaning is in that moment, that's how I reach down. I reach down, lifting up and engaging with the reality of me being able to be a father. That's what was in me in this moment, right? And that's why I did it. And that's what meant I could then, and it's difficult for me. I just know I moved forward and I know I made these steps. I know I got myself downstairs for a really brief period of time and then up again, right? This is all massive progress. I remember the moment when I could suddenly brush my teeth and it wasn't really difficult because my dexterity was returning, because before it was really difficult for me to brush my teeth. I started, and this is really early on, I started to learn the piano. I've got a keyboard downstairs. So when I got downstairs, my mum and dad are here living with me, right? And they're looking after me and take care of Emily and all the things that need to happen that I can't do. And they're walking past and I'm like, just learning the piano. Like I was in bed like 4 or 5 minutes ago, but I'm learning the piano. Why am I learning the piano? Because my dexterity was ruined. And so let's do something to try and improve my dexterity. Should I wait until my dexterity improves to try and do something to improve it? No, I should do the thing to improve. Right at the worst, I can barely brush my teeth. Okay, I'm going to start learning the piano. It was incredibly hard getting my fingers, to be able. But day after day, I just 5 minutes, 10 minutes each day. I started to be able to learn to play Fleur Elise by Beethoven, and Still by Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg.
Yeah, which is super cool.
It's super cool. I went from one to the other. I really like it. And if all these moments armed to the heart with my meaning, I wouldn't be doing it otherwise, right?
And also there's something else there, because like you said, it's only 5 minutes and yet you were able to do that, even though your dexterity was so bad that you couldn't brush your teeth, and I know you even couldn't use a knife, right? And yet
it's a bad experiment when I sliced my finger. And it was because the thing, David, I still think I'm me, right? I never do that shit. I never knock stuff over. I just never do that. And so I can get the sharpest knife in the kitchen and do this and slice the end of my finger off. And it's just like, it was such a shell shock because I'm just not me right now. I'm just not me right now, physically. And so I have to adjust.
And so with those things, like with the dumbbell, with the piano, you're physically laid out, still needing to lay down most of the time, right? Still in the healing process.
Almost all the time.
So obviously you were armed with your meaning, right? You had your meaning in your heart, as you said, but you also, during it, I know that you're bringing so much of yourself to that thing. And I think this is important as well. It's one thing to be armed with the meaning, but it's another, like what you're doing whilst you're doing it.
What you're doing while you're doing it. Right. Okay. Yeah. Yes. So you have to be, and it's all part of it really, because it is reality. So like this, that's why I'm engaging with it so deeply in the moment, because it's not over there, right? The goal isn't over there. The goal is here and now, right here. I was actually speaking with a client whose aspirations to do coaching work. And in early stages of work, he said, I really want to really start to attend to this project of creating a coaching business. And it's like, okay. But the mistake he would make, and so many of us make so much of the time, is the goal is there. It's right there, and I know what it is, so I want to get to it. You need to bring the goal here. It's this step, it's this action, it's this moment that you bring the goal into. So, right, he was trying to skip the process of his own development to get there, when he needs to bring that aspiration and what it means to him into this moment he's engaged with, just like I did with the dumbbell. You know, I need to be an active, healthy father. I need to be a provider. I need to be all these things. And it's over there. But I need to be here. I need to bring that, rather than, try and jump my way to that. And you don't. You know, this is a mistake a lot of the coaches make. They try and skip the process of development and their personal development and their coaching development, and do Facebook ads and all this kind of stuff. It's like endless hamster wheel. We know those people. But people do that in all areas of life, and they don't stay consistent. Why? Because they're not engaging with their meaning in this moment. They don't realize that this thing they're doing here and now is that. That's what it is. Mm-hmm. That's the goal. You are fulfilling the goal now in this moment. You are in this tiny thing you're attending to. That's the step in front of you and the place you are. So when you're doing that, which is like, yeah, I know where I want to get to. So we have that awareness, but we connect with the meaningfulness of what it is we need to do here and now, and that's what we do. Okay, you don't need to keep obsessing over something. You know you want that. You want that. You want to go beyond anxiety. You want that career growth. You want that relationship. You want that physical health. You know it. Now forget about it. Connect with the meaningfulness of what you're doing here that gets you there. Right here and now. And then that allows you to really come into that moment. Like, so when I you have to meet yourself and the moment and whatever it brings, you have to willingly meet it. Because when I picked up that dumbbell, it fucking hurt. It really hurt. So what do? Now, okay, let's meditate myself away from this experience. No, because then I'm meditating myself away from my meat. I'm meditating myself away from life. I can't do that. I need to be in this moment. So I need to be in the pain. I need to be in the discomfort. I need to be in every single morsel of this moment. I need to feel all of it. But when you feel all of it, of course, it becomes bigger. But why do you continue willingly coming into it? Why do you continue willingly going through it? Because simultaneously you're connecting to the meaningfulness of it.
Yeah. So with that, of course, like with the coach's example, the challenge is that when they're doing something, whatever it is, for their own development or their coaching, but it is so far away from. In fact, just to coach recently, if you look at the evidence of what he's done and his life the past 6 months, it's radically different. I mean, it's amazing, really. Like his experience of life is awesome right now. That's great. But he's not earning the money, and because the money isn't there, and it's like harder to get people to pay him what he wants to get paid. He's finding himself like that suddenly washes out a lot of the good that he's doing. And like so in the moment when it isn't working, so he's meeting that, like, what does he do?
Isn't it always the story? It's just always the story. And what does he do? It's difficult for me to understand in some sense. I'll tell you why, David. I've been back on my feet, relatively speaking, for 5 minutes. And every time I leave the house, I meet people that become people that potentially follow my work. Every single time. Today, I'm in the sauna. I'm getting into the sauna now. It's one of my rituals I'm building. And there's a young man comes in. I can see the guy is shattered in some way. I start opening up a conversation and connection. He starts sharing he's going through a breakup. And he's heartbroken, he's depressed, he's going through this horrible time. Okay, man. And we talk. Now what I do is I just talk, and I just give and serve, connect and serve. Nothing else, just connection and service. Then there always comes a point, what do you do? Well, I do this actually. And I'm committed to helping serve as many people as I possibly can. So by all means, follow me because I share loads of stuff. No sales pitch, nothing. I'm not interested. I don't want this guy to pay me. I want him to watch my videos and I want his life to get better. It's not even in the equation for me. David, I think I've probably had at least 5 new followers from the sauna this week. right?
Yeah, it's for your work, Rich.
Yeah. And now I've got, a friend at the gym. He's like, jokes. This is like your office here. And I'm like, this is the real office because I get to just do it. So, what am I saying here? You really need to root yourself in what you're being and becoming. You try and skip any process. In fact, this is kind of some of the guidance I gave to this young man. I said, the world is going to tell you there's plenty more fish in the sea. The world is going to tell you to distract yourself. The world is going to tell you to pull yourself together. And it's going to give you all this advice. And I'm going to tell you, do not skip any of the process. Feel what you need to feel as fully as you need to feel it every day. Meet the reality that you are experiencing within yourself. Acknowledge all of it. Go through it. Be at your rock bottom. And really be there. Don't try and skip the process, because what happens is you try and skip the process, you'll get flung back. Every time there's an experience, suddenly now you might see her out socially. Oh, you hear she's in a relationship. Whatever it is, you continue getting forced back to that rock bottom again, because you didn't feel your way through it enough to the point where you became stronger and could walk forward. Okay. And then you're being and becoming the person that creates that different life. And coaching is the same. You need to be and become. Yes, the urgency comes. So our primal mind, our survival mind goes, oh no, abandon the correct way to do things. Now, David and I have been, we've engaged with coaches in this process, and they're in it for years. Why? Because they don't do what we're saying when it gets difficult. It doesn't matter if you're doing it when it's easy, right? Who cares that you're doing it when it's easy?
Yeah.
Now it's really difficult. Okay, well now you're really doing it in that case, because if it's not a sacrifice, then you're not gonna earn what sacrifices necessitate. So this was something else I said in one of my posts, something I connected with deeply when I could only eat potatoes because everything I was reacting with, right? And the bigger the goal, the bigger the sacrifices that we need to make to get there. That's life. That's just life. So if you've got a big goal, you're going to need to make sacrifices, big ones. And so when you're meeting life in this moment where it's not easy and it's this and, oh, maybe I should abandon. No, that's when you do it. Yeah. That's when you do it the most. That's when you really connect with the meaningfulness of what it is you're doing and why. And you really bring it into this. That's when it's necessary. This isn't when you stop and change. This is where it's at. This is where the real growth is. This is where your life changes. This is where you become a new human being that then gets to have that life. That's where it happens, man.
Yeah. Yeah. And in fact, like from my personal experience, as well as, coaches and others, like what I found is that it is when it feels like it's at its worst and like it isn't working, and there's no external evidence, and the people around you don't know, right? So they are saying maybe you should do something else, maybe get that job, maybe this isn't for you. So that's the voices that are around you. You're in it experiencing the external failure, right? Because there are those daily momentary successes of these people you're helping. But the harder it is, the worse it feels, the closer you are to that exponential thing, when suddenly it's like it's hiding from you until you're willing to commit that far. And that's what I found. And then suddenly it's like, hey, it's been over here the whole fucking time.
Yeah. You don't have access to it yet, because as much as the self-help world is telling you that you're deserving of everything unconditionally, you're not. And you won't get it unless you deserve it. You won't get it unless you earn it. Of course not. That's how life works. You've got to be and become the person that can have that. Otherwise you don't get it. You might get your hands on it. You might get to touch it. You might get in the room with it. You might have it for a time, but it'll be taken away. Why? Because you're not the person to have it yet. You've got to be and become that person. You've got to grow. And what we're talking is edge of your story stuff. People come to the edge of their story, right? They haven't got there yet. It's the unknown. They haven't taken this extra step in their life. So it's like, whoa, it feels like this is the place to retreat from. No, it's the place to step forward through. And maybe we need to adjust ourselves, right? Put in support structures. Maybe you need to get this part-time job here or whatever.
Yeah, of course.
But explore what it is you can do to carry on, and carry on in the right way, with integrity, with honesty, with courage, with empathy, with meaningfulness. Explore what you can do to support that trajectory. because, well, as far as I'm concerned, there's an inevitableness to extraordinary. There's an inevitableness to it. There's loads of random challenges that happen in life. But if you keep walking forward in the way that we're encouraging here and in all our work with the 4D life and everything else we've shared, if you keep moving forward in that way, there's an inevitableness to you become more of the person that you need to be to not only navigate storms, but to create, the beautiful and the inspirational and the success on every level, personally, professionally, relationally, everything. But it begins with acknowledgement. And what gets you there in the fork of the roads moments when it's like everything in your being is pulling you towards the seductive circle and spiral you've been living out your whole life. And you might even think that's the right choice because your mind's on board with that. And this place over here, going down the prickly path where things are more challenging and difficult, I have to be more honest, more real, more courageous, more caring. What gets you there? What helps you take that step rather than take that addictive, seductive path, which leads you back around in your circles? It's meaning. It's meaningfulness. Because all of this seduction has a gravity to it, which is immense. It's our patterns, man. It's our life. It's what we've been conditioned and enculturated with our entire life. It's our story of life. It's our being. It's our state of being now, pulling us towards doing this familiar thing that may actually be self-sabotaging in the mid to long term. But in the moment, there's this relief and there's this ease and there's this pleasure. Okay. What can possibly mean that you don't do that with all that gravity? You got to create a gravity with your meaning in your heart. I'm doing this because of what is most meaningful to me in the world. And what is more important than what's most meaningful to you? Nothing. So you've got to identify it. You've got to connect with it. You've got to feel it. And it might mean breaking your heart, but you bring it right in. And when you have that in your heart, then suddenly that gravity and presence and courage is there to be drawn from that meaning. And you can take yourself in that direction, breath by breath, step by step, day by day. And the better life is inevitable because you're becoming the person that gets to live it.
Damn right. Drop that mic. And man, that's and that is, as we said at the beginning, that's how you create rapid, exponential development and growth very slowly.
Yeah,
right? That's exactly how, because what you did with that dumbbell, which would have been excruciating, slow and heavy, and all that it was, is the same thing that you're doing in the sauna when you're connecting with that young man.
Take it, everywhere. And it became that I was listening to one Rocky song and lifting some dumbbells every other day. And now I've built, and there's 3 songs happening now. 2 Rocky songs and one freestyle. I might go with the script. That what's that one? The Will I Am one. Tell me in the comments. I don't know, but exactly. It's day by day. It's slow. Month by month, it's massive leaps. That's what I've experienced, and we all can in whatever way we need to.
Yeah. Okay, man. Is there anything else you feel that needs to be said?
No, just thanks for being here, guys. Bring anything to the comments. We'll be engaging with them. We're here to be of service, and we're going to be rocking these out now more regularly. So stick with us. Apply what we share. There's only one inevitable result. Life gets better.
Definitely. Okay, man. Well, thanks for showing up here as well. Again, I always learn so much from being here with you.
Thanks, man.
And thank you all for watching. Thank you for being here. And if this has been valuable to you, use it first and then share it.